Tapkey Units. Units is a functionality that allows managers and allows landlords to share a common locking system with multiple tenants. In this case, we have Boltzmarkt that has a building with multiple Tapkey locks, and he wants to have multiple people using the locking system or specific locks, each person using a specific locks within the locking system with specific privacy settings. So what is a unit and what is the specific scenario of use for the unit's functionality? In this case, about multi-tenant. So the specific scenario is that when a landlord requires additional privacy or license centralization features, units is a good fit. In the case of multi-tenant installations or buildings, we have the need of Boltzmarkt that will want to share some specific locks with some of the tenants, but it is also important that each one of the tenants has enough privacy. And this is one of the key points for the multi-tenant functionality, where the locks shared between Boltzmarkt and Stefan in this case, which is the tenant or the unit manager, they are both can be exclusively shared with Stefan, where Stefan is the only one that will be able to edit the locks, and also some locks can be shared and used by all of the people within the same unit or the same locking system. Let's dig into some details about the units. The units functionality is useful for multiple scenarios. We already discussed about the rental industry. It can be used for commercial purposes, where we have buildings that have multiple offices, multiple floors, and also within each office they might require additional privacy settings, and in any other scenarios where the one locking system is needed to be split into multiple ones, and specifically it is very important to preserve some security and privacy isolation between the specific departments, campuses, or any other scenario. We are going to talk about this specific scenario about the rental industry, where we have a landlord that is named Boltzmarkt, and Boltzmarkt has multiple tenants on his building, and each one is going to be renting one floor apartment. So what is the privacy? So we are going to start by this topic, where we have each unit has exclusive locks and shared locks. So these are two new concepts in Tapkey, where exclusive lock is a lock that can only be used by the tenant itself. So if one lock is shared with a unit in an exclusive mode, in this case Stefan is the only one that will be able to create access for the flat door 101, and the access logs are not going to be visible for the landlord. We also have the concept of shared logs, where a shared logs is specifically assigned for common areas. We can name them entrance doors, or also additional rooms where everybody in the building or multiple people in the building should have access, such as laundry rooms, bike storage areas, or any other. In this case, a shared room of entrance door, it is shared for both tenants, and all of them can assign access to that specific area, but only Stefan will be able to see the logs associated with him, and Brenda is going to be able to see the logs associated with her, and also Boltzmarkt. So this still has some level of isolation in terms of the usage, and this is where we get deeper into it. We have units have specific boundaries, and the boundaries are Boltzmarkt can only manage his own permissions, and he can only visualize his own management, even if we are talking about a a shared area, in this case the entrance door. Each one of the tenants is going to be able to manage, edit permissions, and see the access logs associated with their own permissions, but the permissions are never shared between tenants, or they are not visible for the landlord. That's very important. Also, the license package is exclusively assigned from top to bottom. The landlord is the one that has all of the management control around the license package on each one of the units. So the landlord is the one making the decision if one unit has a certain amount of licenses, and the extension of the packages for a smartphone user contingent should happen always through the landlord. The unit or the locking system created for Stefan and Brenda is not going to be able to be extended by purchasing additional licenses. They will need to contact the landlord in order to extend the license contingent for their units. Also, additional note is that PulseMac is given the privacy concerns and the management scope. He is not going to be able to see the consumed licenses from each one of the apartments in this case. So they are completely isolated, and it can only operate through direct requests from each one of them. What about NFC transponders? So in NFC transponders, as units, there is no limit. So you can, as a unit manager, you can activate as much NFC transponders as you please. This is not going to be managed by the landlord. That's something to keep in mind. So landlords have restrictions in the way of using NFC transponders. So a landlord cannot activate an NFC transponder for an exclusive lock, but as soon as a lock is accessible for the unit manager, they can activate NFC transponders in their own locking system. In here, it is important to keep in mind that lenient mode is recommended when activating a unit in order to offer more flexibility in the management of the locking system. So please go to our documentation to see more details about it. Okay, so the license package, let's go deeper into this specific example. So in this case, we have a full unit that contains 7 tenants, and the landlord has 50 licenses available. So when creating all of the units, the landlord decided to assign 5 licenses per each one of the units. So each one of the tenants is going to have 5 smartphone users available for assigning access in their own locks. And so by default, it will happen that as assigned licenses from the landlord are going to be 35. So as PulseMac has already spent 35 licenses, and the only ones available for his own management, like for administrative purposes or the maintenance purposes, he will have only 15 licenses available.